All right, Jeremy Miner and Matt Ryder here. Today, we are going to help you learn once and for all, so you'd never have to go to bed at night with anxiety and just frustration and fear when your prospects say, I need to talk to my spouse. So how do you overcome the partner objection so you can go to bed peacefully at night, knowing that people are going to purchase your products and services? So welcome to Closers or Losers. My name is Jeremy Miner. I'm the chairman of Seventh Level, the founder. This is Matt Ryder, our CEO. We are an organization, and this podcast is developed to really help sales professionals like you and coaches and executives and business owners really change or transform the way you have been taught how to sell by learning specific skilled techniques that work with human behavior. That's the key. Rather than work against it, we call these neuro-emotional persuasion questions. We teach you to have the right tonality that put your prospects at ease, eliminate sales pressure, and get them to persuade themselves. What a novel idea. Matt, are you ready for this podcast? I've been waiting for this one.
I just need to check with my wife to make sure that I'm ready.
Oh my gosh. Good. I mean, I love this. I mean, this is good. This is a big one. So many salespeople, I remember, when I first got into sales, I was like a 21-year-old punk kid in college.
I don't think you were a punk. I don't believe that. I don't believe you're out there kicking car doors in.
Well, you know what I mean? Just a dumb kid, right? I wasn't doing anything crazy, right? I wasn't popped up on drugs or, beating people up on the side or anything, have some side business. But, I was in college. I'd recently got married, had a kid on the way, got into sales. I mean, this 20-year-old guy, I didn't know what I was doing. And I got this job going door to door. And I was selling security systems, a straight commission. And I remember just going to bed every night so freaking stressed out because I would try to make a sale. Maybe I even made a sale. We called it a one-legger, but then the spouse wasn't there.
A what?
And
the
next morning I'd wake up and they'd call and cancel. And it's like, I did all this work and I made $0. So I remember going to bed every night. I mean, I'm serious, every freaking night, just anxiety for the next morning for somebody to call in the office that I had sold to the day before they were just going to cancel. You know what I mean?
A funny story about before I started using NEPQ, I had a separate phone because I knew that I would get a certain amount of deals that would fall through on the weekend. And I didn't want to have to deal with that because there's nothing I could do about it. And so it would just stress me out. I was commission only. I was making about $2,000 commission per sale. And I would, sell about 6 to 7 per week. Or probably that stage is probably 3 to 4 per week. And then I would have 1 or 2 fall through. And I would just be at dinner on a Saturday night. I just lost $4,000. Sweet. Amazing. Thanks for coming. And I'd be in a crap mood for the rest of the day. And it was almost always, hey, had a chat with my wife and she's not cool with it.
Yeah. You're done. Yeah, you're done. It's hard to get that back for sure. So it's a huge concern. I would say it's one of the biggest objections that salespeople get. And they're so bad at helping people overcome it when it can be so easy. It doesn't matter what you sell. It's now, on Saturday nights, Matt, you can just go to dinner with your wife, your family. You don't have to worry about things because people you talk to Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday that signed up or whatever for your products or service, you're not worried about them canceling because they persuaded themselves rather than you trying to persuade them. Exactly.
Now I'm getting referrals.
Yeah.
Same time. Hey, my wife wants to sign up for friends. Sweet. Sounds good. Okay. So step one, first of all, where does a partner objection actually come from? What's it a symptom of? I think is probably important to find out.
There's a couple things. It just depends. And obviously it's a little bit different if you're B2C or B2B, right? If you're B2B, the partner concern might be just the business partner rather than if you're B2C, it might be the husband or wife, right? So it comes with one of two things. Either one, they're really, really interested, they want to do it, but they have some type of rule with their spouse where they talk things over before they make a big financial decision. Now, that's not like if you're selling magazines door to door that are $10 a month. We're talking about, higher end products, right? That over $1,000, let's say. Or if you haven't pulled out enough need because your questioning skills really suck in the sales conversation, and you haven't helped them see that they have problems they didn't even know they had before they started talking to you. So if you don't know how to do those type of things, it's just a way for them to get rid of you. Okay. So you have to be able to read their tonality and their body language, or even their tonality. And you by reading their tonality and even their body language, it really helps you determine like what category they're in. But most of the time, if you're getting the objection like, oh, this sounds really good, but I need to talk to my spouse, it's because you haven't pulled out enough need for them to feel attached to the problem enough where they feel like they have to take urgency now to solve that. And that's really your selling skills.
Yeah, and it's an appeal to a third party that's not there. So it's the ultimate deflection.
Yeah.
And so I think you've got to have a tool where you can get through whether it's a genuine logistical partner objection or just a deflection.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Okay, so what are the first steps? Like, let's say we do get the partner objection. I've gone, Jeremy, this sounds amazing. This sounds best. You can change my life in every way, shape, and form. But I just need to speak to my wife.
Yeah, that's not a problem. So first of all, you just agree with them. So you don't get defensive. The moment you get defensive, it's over. It's just the moment you get defensive, like, but, it's over. But you said, but it's over. Okay.
So if you say, is never good.
Yeah. So yeah, that's not a problem. Tell me, how does your wife feel about you? And then you repeat back what they said they wanted. Right. So what industry should we give an example? Let's say it's e-commerce, right? We were training a company this morning in the e-commerce space. Okay. So in e-commerce, let's say the husband responds to an ad because he wants to build a Shopify business or an Amazon business, right? The wife's not there. She's at her job. He's at his job. He booked on the calendar. The salesperson at the end, he's like, this is great. I want to do Amazon, or I want to build my own Shopify store, but I need to talk to my spouse. Okay. Well, what was his problems? Why did he even respond to the ad? Well, people who sell that, the prospects that respond to that, they have two problems: lack of time, lack of money, right? Those are the problems. That's why they're looking for their own business. So I'm going to incorporate what he said he wanted into what his wife would think. I'm not going to say, how does your wife feel about you spending 10 grand on an Amazon business? That sounds stupid, right? What value is there? So I'm going to say, yeah, that's not a problem. How does your wife feel about you starting your own business so that you can make more money for the family? So notice, how does your wife feel about you starting your own business so that you can? And I repeat back what they said they wanted.
Yeah.
Now, do you see how that works? So give me another example from another industry and I'll show you how to do it.
Let's go with solar. Solar is always a good one.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not a problem. I guess, how does your wife feel about you possibly getting solar so that you save more money in your utility bills every month? So we're repeating back what they said they wanted or their problem they have. People that sell solar, they're helping them reduce their electricity cost, right? That's what they do. So there's another example. You got another one for me?
I always say there's only two reasons people buy solar. One is to save money. One is to save the planet. The other.
True. So depends on where you live. Like if you live in California, it might be to save the planet. If you live in Missouri, it's probably to save money.
Exactly. Yeah, sweet. I think what's in the going? I think, one thing that's been coming up a lot lately is insurance. I think insurance sales is a huge one, especially for us and the companies that we train. But life insurance, like annuities and stuff like that, it's not a cheap thing.
Yeah.
It's an expensive thing, and it is something that people can find quite scary. And so people, I can see like they would want to talk that over. And I think just because one thing we want to get straight, just because we're not saying that that person isn't going to have to talk to their partner. But what we're doing is potentially, if that person is using that as a smokescreen, we can get past it and then sign the deal there and then. But if it is a logistical, genuine, I cannot make a decision without having my partner on board, then we just need to support them through that process.
We basically coach them through selling their spouse on wanting to have the benefit of what they said they wanted. But we have to do that in a way. We have to set it up. So let's say if it's insurance or annuities, right? Yeah, that's not a problem. I guess, how does your wife feel about you investing in extra financial protection in case, God forbid, something does happen to you?
Yeah. It's kind of a no-brainer.
Painted that picture. Now, he's not going to say, no, she wouldn't like the extra financial protection in case I die.
Yeah.
He's not going to say that. He's not going to say, no, she wouldn't want me to save money on my utility bills. She's not going to say, no, she wouldn't want me to start a business where I can make more money. He's not going to say that. He's like, oh, I think she'd be on board. I think she'd really like that. And here's where we're going to challenge that. Well, but what are you going to do though if you go to her about getting the funds to invest into starting your own business and then she doesn't want you to? What would you do then? Now, why would I want to say that?
Because you want to figure that's where you're really going to figure out. First of all, it's going to get him into problem solving mode. Right. Yep. So then he's like, okay, what am I actually going to do? And it's going to give us a good insight into whether it's a genuine logistical, because if he says, well, I'm going to move forward anyway, then we can just move forward today. But if he says, well, we have a pact, it's part of our relationship that I do not make decisions over X amount without running it by her, then we go, okay, like the one thing that we don't want to do is create the resistance in the relationships where it's us versus her. It's everyone working together to solve a problem, you know? So.
Yeah. So we ask him, so how does your spouse feel about you XYZ so that you can, and you repeat back the benefit of what they wanted. Oh, I think she would like it. Let's just say, well, let's go down this path first. Let's say that he says, oh, I think she would like it. And then I'm going to show you the path if he says, well, I don't know if she'd even want me to. And I'm going to show you what to say then. It's a little bit different. Okay. Because one or two things can happen. Oh, I think she would want me to. I understand, but help me understand this. Like if you go to her and let's say she doesn't want you to get the extra financial protection, like what would happen at that point if something did happen to you?
So future pacing out the potential failure.
Future pacing the consequences of not doing anything, right? Yeah. Now that builds him more like, oh no, she's definitely going to do it. Now I might even come back and say, but what if she doesn't? Like, what are you going to do then if the situation gets even worse? So let's say if it's going back to the e-commerce business. So what are you going to do if you go to your wife and she doesn't want you to invest the money to put into the business so that you can have more time at home with the kids? If that's what he said he wanted. Let's say he commuted back and forth to work. He didn't like it. Mm-hmm. Oh, well, no, I think she would really want me to. Well, what are you going to do if she doesn't though? Like, how would you ever get out of your job if you don't get the money to start the business? See how I'm asking that type of consequence question of what happens if she doesn't want you to? How are you going to change your situation if you don't get the funds? So I'm asking another consequence question on top of that. Yeah. So he gets to a point where he's like, oh shit, if I go to her or him or whoever, right, and she doesn't want me to do this, if I don't stand up and do something, my situation is not going to change. I'm never going to have my own business. I'm not going to have the extra financial protection if I do have a heart attack like my dad did 10 years earlier and my mom was stranded with the mortgage, right? These things come back in their mind, right? Or let's say if it's solar, yeah, I'm not going to be able to get the solar. My utility bills are going to keep going up 4% every year, right? So that challenges in their mind. It creates, here's their situation. Here's where they want to be. Here's that gap now. So that gap just became much bigger in their mind where they're like, oh my gosh, like I have got to get this money so I can get here to where I want to be. I want to get to my future state. Here's my current state. Here's the problems in between my current state and my future state. So it helps them think that way. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm not sure. I think it was it you that told me about the secret mission question?
The secret what?
The secret mission question.
I don't know.
I cannot remember where I picked it up, but it's a way to ask subtly in the beginning, and I've been using it for years. I just can't remember where I got it from. Mm-hmm. But you go, does your partner know that we're on this call, or are we on a bit of a secret mission? Right, and you say it quite early in the piece, and it's a funny question. People are like, they laugh at. I used to use it in fitness. And because then that would always let me know, like, oh, no, my partner knows when they call. Okay, do you feel like your partner is possibly supportive of you learning the skills in order to you being able to lose the 15 pounds? Okay, like why do you feel that? So I'd try and lock that up early. And then if we were on a secret mission, then I knew that I was going to have a bit of a partner battle at the end. And so I was going to have to lay the foundations throughout the entire process. So that's a question that I've put in there. I had no idea where I picked that up. I must have heard it somewhere. But
I like the secret mission question. We need to put that in the sales training course. I like that actually. That's pretty smart.
It really diffuses the situation because it's humor.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. I like that. One thing you can do. So let's say if I ask him, yeah, that's not a problem. How does your husband feel about you? Let's say if it's sales training, how does your husband feel about you learning more advanced sales skills to make sure that you're making more money for the family? Well, I don't know. I don't know if he'd want me to do it. I just don't know if he'd want me to put the money in. So if you don't get the money to learn those type of sales skills, how are you going to make more money in your sales job? Now, what did that just do?
Yeah.
Do you see what I just did there?
Yeah. I think the tone as well is good because it's like a genuine curiosity. I think for a lot of people at home, for me, the easiest way to convey curiosity is just to furrow your brow. You know what I mean? So if you do that, it kind of makes you seem like more curious, even if it's a telephone call. And those sort of like upward inflections where you're asking a question and it's, it can be more of a statement, but in a question form because you're doing an upward inflection. So those little tonality things, you're like, but like, what are you going to do? Like, it's like, oh yeah, what am I going to do?
Because then it forces her or him to be like, well, I guess I would just stay the same. Well, are you willing to settle for that? Well, I guess if I have to. Well, whose choice is it if you settle or not? Well, that's mine. So how important is it for you to learn more advanced sales techniques so that you can go out and sell more for you and your family? Right? Oh, it's really important. Well, okay, but what are you going to do though if you go to your husband and he doesn't want you to invest money? How are you going to learn those skills to be able to sell more? And I double back again to see where she's at. Oh, no. I'm going to talk to him or I'm going to get him on the phone with you or whatever. It just helps you figure out what's going on. Like when I was in my sales career, I sold so many one-leggers, you have no idea. And hardly anybody ever canceled. Now, I mean, just after I learned these skills that we teach on the podcast and in our, Facebook group, our sales revolution group, and all of our sales training, hardly anybody would ever cancel. Like
what's a one-legger? You said that a couple of times. What is that? What's a one-legger?
A one-legger means like just the one spouse is there and the other spouse is not there. We always call them one-leggers.
Okay, I've never heard that before.
You're like, what do you mean by one-legger?
Got a couple of double one-leggers coming in.
You got a one-legger. So a one-legger means, just the spouse, one person's there, but the other person's not. So we even said that like when I was in B2B sales. Let's say that the CEO was there, but also the CFO and the CEO had to make the decision. There was 5 decision makers. You're like, well, did you just talk to the CEO, the one-legger, or did you have all the legs present? That's what you always say.
It's funny. I guess because I've been training like this for a while, but I just don't find partner objections particularly difficult to overcome. People say that they're hard. They're not. I think, if we go to like the mindset of selling, I think I'm a big proponent of you sell how you buy. So if you have to make a decision with your partner, I think it becomes very difficult to mentally, like with any sort of level of conviction and certainty, to be able to get someone to overcome that objection themselves. So I think like you've got to put as I would say in the army, you got to put your shit in one sock if you want to get it right. Because if you're always given money objections or always trying to look for the freebies or always trying to if you're the guy who's wandering around Costco just getting lunch off the samples, chances are you're not really going to get over a money or a think about it objection, because it's just like you're going to buy into the narrative and then you're going to give up. And a lot of people in sales, regardless of what you're selling, the reason why they don't close the deal is because they get flustered, they run out of things to say, and they don't know where to go next. So the person gives them a partner objection. They just go, okay, let's go ahead and schedule a follow-up.
Yeah.
And
because they would give that same objection too. And they don't have any certainty. I totally agree with you. Like a lot of us can make decisions. Now, let's say that I go to the car dealership and I'm like, oh, I really want to buy this Aston Martin. It's only $297,000. Well, because of the price, most of the time I'd probably just do it myself and just drive home. No questions asked. But I'd probably talk to my spouse.
Yeah.
So I don't
on the way home.
In my face first.
Hey, how's the Bluetooth sound? Yeah, it's in my new Aston.
Yeah, exactly.
It's great. It's great.
It's there are some things that you're going to talk about, but if you prep them on how their spouse is going to react, and you kind of know that. So like when they tell you certain things about the spouse, you know where you set. Okay. And if the spouse is skeptical. So let's say that going back to the e-commerce, let's say that if you're a salesperson that sells e-commerce, I'm just giving you just different types of examples. And they say, oh, I want to think it over. I got to talk to my spouse. Yeah, that's not a problem. How does your spouse feel about you, starting your own business so that you can make more money for the family, if that's what he wanted? Oh, I don't know. I think she'd like me to make more money, but she always says these these e-com, these internet things are just scams. Hold on. What do you mean by scams? Now, why would I want to know that? Well, I tried this business 6 years ago and we lost all this money. Okay. And what do you think held you back from having success then doing it though? Well, I didn't have the right support in the training. Okay. So the support's important for you. Can I make a suggestion to you? Yeah, go ahead. Have you ever considered that way of thinking that your wife is talking to you about everything online being a scam might be preventing you from ever finding a business where you have financial freedom in your life? And every time, yeah, it does. Well, how is she going to overcome that way of thinking though, so you can start your own business so you can actually make more money for the family?
You got to prove her wrong, brother. You got to prove her wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. So how are you?
That's a good frame. That's a cheeky
Do you
one.
see that? So how are you going to help her overcome that way of thinking so you guys can start your own business so you can make more money? So it doesn't really matter, whatever the wife is thinking or the husband or whatever, you're asking that question, like, how are they going to overcome that type of thinking so that you can, and you repeat back the benefit they said they wanted?
That's beautiful. One of the things that I've sort of developed a little bit over the last little while is asking if it's someone who's just really dug in and it feels like, you get the feeling this is not a real partner objection, but I'm struggling to break through. I go, what if anything, do you feel like your partner would be most apprehensive about? And then that is going to allow them to tell you what they're most apprehensive about, but they get to do it through the filter of it being their partner. They're almost always going to say, whenever I ask that question, they go, well, I think they'd be worried about the money because I've tried things like this before and it hasn't worked out. And I'm like, that's the real concern. That's the objection, right? And but I let them get away with telling me that it's somebody else's objection, so they feel more comfortable to say it, because that's an uncomfortable thing to say. They're basically saying, I don't trust myself enough, is what that is. Like, I'm lazy and I'm not going to do it. And in fitness, I used to get that all the time.
Yeah, now they can blame their spouse, right? But then they give you their real concern, and now you're there on Zoom or on the phone or in person, and you can help them overcome the concern. Whereas if you didn't do that and then they went away, you're not there now and they're gone.
Yeah. And this is why, like, just having the interactions and be able to talk about this is why people should start their sales career in a high volume, low ticket sale.
Yeah.
Or maybe not super low ticket, but they need something where they have like door to door, right? You can have hundreds of sales interactions every day. Cold calling. You can have hundreds of sales interactions every day. With me, with fitness, I would sell between 200 to 300 people every month.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
And that was all just phone calls. There was no booked appointments. It was just a list of leads and dial. And so the amount of interactions that you have just allows you to develop like the muscle memory to be able to go identify, because, like, what's the first thing you do when you get a dog? You name it. What's the second thing you do when you get a dog? You teach it how to come when you call its name. And so like when you have a lot of sales interactions, you can identify what you're dealing with quickly, and then you can recall exactly how to handle it. So I have a partner objection. You go, well, this doesn't feel like a real partner objection. It feels like a smokescreen. I'm going to recall these two techniques. I'm going to bring them in. I'm going to use them. I know which doors they're going to open. Yeah. And then I'm going to go down that pathway and I'm comfortable. But people who are just coming in and they're going into, high ticket or trying to sell SaaS or whatever it is straight away. Like, man, good luck. Good luck.
Yeah, they don't have enough repetition to get the skills down. So it's all that systematic process, right? It's a step-by-step structure. So you know where to take the call or the appointment from point A, contact, all the way to point Z at the very end. And you know how to do everything in between. Doesn't matter if they tell you, I want to think about it. I need to talk to my business partner. I need to talk to my spouse, or your price is too high. You know exactly what to do in every part of that sales process. And it's like you're a factory. It's like you're a freaking machine. You're just, people come in, you just keep taking them down the factory line, right? Whereas most salespeople just wing it, right? They don't really know. So it's like every call, they're saying something different, right? And because there's no consistency there, and it, results in very low income, very low sales.
Yeah. And then they get it to the point where they're doing six figures and then they think they know everything and it never goes any more than that. So I think the biggest game changer for me as a salesperson was having a process, because I was getting by on chutzpah and hustle. And I think just like a an acumen for talking to people, but I don't I listened back to some sales calls that I had, and I was like, that's just a heap of hot garbage. I just got through because I was relentless. That was how I sold, just pure relentlessness. And don't get me wrong, I'm sort of happy that I went through that, because it gives me, I can turn it into second gear, third gear if I need to. If I need to get someone over the line on the day, I have a few techniques that I can use in order to do it. But, I think having that process, and the moment that I started using that NEPQ process, connection phase, situation, problem awareness, solution awareness, it made sense that I was able to go, okay, I'm in this phase, I'm in this phase, I'm in this phase. And even before I did the coaching with you and had the script, I was able to go, well, at least I know where somebody is in a sales cycle. Yeah. And then I can put together something that I can transition them through. And then I have timings. I'm like, okay, if I want to wrap my deals up in 45 minutes, or whatever I'm trying to get out of that particular interaction, I have a timing that I want to stick to. So I know where I need to be at certain times. And then I can know if I'm off track or on track. And then I can sort of do things to steer it in the right direction.
Yeah. No, and that's one of the biggest things that companies tell you and I, is that the reason why the sales training that we give to companies and individual salespeople, the reason why it's so duplicatable is because of that step-by-step process. Because everybody knows where they're at in every part of the sales process. They know what questions to ask in that type of part of the sales conversation. So it's like a factory that everybody can do, instead of just having a company where out of 100 salespeople, there's 10 all-stars, and then everybody else is just average or sucks. Well, now we can get 30 or 40 or 50 more all-stars, and then get everybody else like even above average, just because of that sales process. Even if they don't really learn it all, just some of those questions and knowing that process kind of helps them manage their time better and know exactly where they're at in that sales process from A to Z all the time.
Exactly. I see so many salespeople that are like, oh, I don't use scripts and I don't use this. I'm just like, oh. Yeah, I remember when I used to do that too.
Oh, you don't? Wow. I wonder what's in your bank account, right? So it's like, okay,
so terrible idea.
You don't use any sales structures. You just wing it every time. Yeah. Okay. That probably shows in the number of sales you're making for sure.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, you can be like, I think sales is a 100% process driven activity that doesn't require a natural acumen to be good at. I really believe that. I was not good at selling naturally at all. I had to really, really work at it very hard. And the only reason why I worked at it is because I enjoyed things like roofs and eating. So, I didn't want to, that was the only reason. And so, I started basically the first thing I did was, how do you handle objections? That was the first thing I tried to do. And then you realize that trying to handle objections is like trying to build a dam in real time. It's a difficult task. The water's rushing, you're trying to build a dam, and it's just like,
dude, it's like you're in a sailboat and there's like all these gushing holes like all over, and you're trying to jump over to here and to this, stop this hole. But we talk a lot about in our sales training about objection prevention, right? So when we're asking those questions in the conversation, it actually prevents objections from even happening in their mind, because there's certain things that you say or certain things that you ask in a sales call or conversation that actually trigger those objections to even happen in the first place. They trigger resistance. So when you learn how to make your language more neutral, and we'll probably have another show on this about neutral languaging, but you learn how to make your statements more neutral rather than so assumptive, you actually reduce the objections you get. You actually prevent objections from happening in their mind, because I'd rather have a sales call where I didn't have any objections rather than like a sales call that has like all these sinking these holes in the boat that I'm trying to run over here and like objection handle. I'd rather just prevent objections from even happening.
Nothing better than an objectionless one-legger. You know what I mean?
You're exactly right.
No one-leggers.
That old mantra where they're like, sales trainers would be like, well, the more objections you get in the sales call, the more interested they are. Nothing could be further from the truth. How stupid does that sound? That defies all logic. Think about the easy sales you've ever made. All the lay down sales had no objections. You're telling me the more objections they have, the more likely they are to buy? No, nothing could be further the truth. The more objections you get, the less likely they are to buy, because you're triggering objections by certain things you're saying, and you're not learning how to ask the right questions to help them uncover their problems and the root cause of the problems and how it's affecting them. That can all be fixed.
And that's also a symptom of the process too. So it's not just, and if you're getting if you are getting particular objections consistently, the first thing you want to do is have a look at what you're doing, the words that you're saying, and are you inducing them? The second thing is have a look at the process that someone's going through to get to the call, or even if you're door knocking or cold calling, like go back up the chain as far as you can and then figure out how you can make a small tweak at the top to then get a much smoother. Because if you have a hose and it's got kinks in the hose, like you start at the part closest to the faucet. That's the place to start. Like unkink there, and the rest of it might just kind of unravel itself, right? So
100%, man.
Yeah. But I think that's good. I think we've dropped enough bombs for today.
I hope we did. I mean, that way people, when you go to sleep at night, you actually know. We give you a little hors d'oeuvre here. We always give you some hors d'oeuvres here in these podcasts, these shows. That's what we're all about.
Little boosh.
Little boosh, little hors d'oeuvres, So that's how you help them. But I will tell you, there's a lot more there, So if you learn the right questions, a lot of times you don't really have those objections at the end. But the partner objection is really easy to help them overcome if you know the right questions to ask.
If you want to get objectionless one-leggers on a consistent basis, head over to our Facebook group, which is the Sales Revolution group. And make sure you go in there. Make sure you fill out the questions. Just let us know who's there so it helps us to better, I guess, tailor the content for the people who are in the group. You know what I mean? So yeah, go over there, check it out. If you guys want some help, feel free to reach out, ask any questions in there. Jeremy's doing an ungodly amount of lives in there every single week. And we're interviewing people, and it's just a good environment for people to be in where you can learn that there is a different way of selling. There's a better way of selling. And yeah, check it out.
Yeah, if you want to sell more of your products or services and do it in a way that you don't feel slimy and sleazy, because you wouldn't be able to sell much more than you were now, even if you were slimy and sleazy. It just doesn't work. Go to Sales Revolution, log in. We go live about 4 to 5 times a week in there with different content and different training. And sometimes, if you're lucky, we even release some free training clips in there too. We do a lot of training for you guys. Matt, thanks for having me on the show. It's awesome again.
Well, it is your show, so yeah, it's been a pleasure.
Well, I guess I always like being on the show. It's good to banter back and forth, and now you know what a one-legger actually means.
I'm super excited. I'm going to get a T-shirt made. Let's get some T-shirts made. One-leggers.
Hashtag one-legger.
Hashtag team one-legger.
I love it. All right.
I love it. All right, guys. Have a good day. Bye.
Now, if you're serious about joining the top 1%, I mean the top 1%, and you want to experience more training content just like this, click the links right over there. Right over there, they're exactly what you need to see next. You see, I release new episodes featuring top salespeople and sales authorities, multiple 6-figure, high 6-figure, even 7-figure earners. And if you're new here, do yourself a favor and smash that subscribe button right below, and join our new Facebook group, Sales Revolution. You see, it's free, and there's a link in the description below just for you. We put it there for you. Finally, I make posts on Facebook and Instagram each and every day with more tips and training, so be sure and follow me and turn on your notifications. So make a comment in the first 7 minutes to any of my latest posts, share this episode, and there's a very real chance that you're going to win some killer prizes. And here's the thing. Don't sit on the sidelines. Don't be like everyone else. Get into the game. Join the Sales Revolution. Stay active, get involved, learn the right skills, and we will show you how to take your life and income to a level that most only dream about.